Hello and welcome back to the Opposites Abroad podcast, the podcast about all things travel. Charlie Bosco here, at Traveller Tattooed, better known as TT, down in Denver. And today we were going to talk about a destination, and we logged on to our call to start chatting and suddenly realised that we didn't want to talk about a destination. We wanted to have a chat about when to travel, how to travel, almost a philosophical discussion. Oh God, are we pretentious academics?
You sound pretentious with your accent.
Yeah, but Americans trying to sound smart sounds a little bit pretentious. Oh, sorry. Got to be careful what I say. I live on this continent now. No, we were just talking about some developments in our lives that have made us question what we did earlier on in our lives, what we might do later in our lives, and I just said, why are we going to talk about destination? Let's talk about this. It's interesting. So, do you want to quickly summarize, without going into too much personal detail, what's been going on that's made you wonder about life choices and when to do what?
Sure. So, people know I'm private, but I just won't share certain things. But my son graduated from college with a degree in physics.
And he is, we should note, by the way, he's a very, very smart kid.
He's very, very smart. He's kind of like Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory. He's fluent in Latin. He can rattle off all the Egyptian pharaohs in order, all the presidents in order. He can rattle off all the 14ers and national parks. Like, he's just a really, really smart kid. And he wanted to be he wanted to get his PhD in physics and be basically what he called a physics monk and study physics. He was published in a European journal on black holes in his undergrad. He's just unbelievably smart. But as everybody knows, the United States is kind of a mess right now, and higher education's a mess. So nobody's taking PhD students. I mean, and I'm being a little dramatic, but not really. Like, almost nobody's taking them. The colleges have lost their fundings, or canceling students' contracts or their PhDs, or cutting just everything because the feds have cut so much money and are suing universities. It's just a giant mess. It's really disconcerting to me, this attack on higher education, which is kind of be a side tangent. The most successful group in the United States is Asians, by far, and that's because 65% of them have college degrees. You start not having the ability for people to have college degrees, and it's just, the whole country is going to start tanking. So it's really, really sad. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. I've got a theme to pick up later about college. I'm not a huge believer in academic qualifications leading to success, although I appreciate that in some cases they do, but I think it's a worthy debate. But
it's true, and some people can be very successful without it, but when you look at the data on percentage, the most successful people, they get law degrees, they get they're medical doctors, they get engineering degrees, they get business degrees, and then every now and then you can have somebody who's drops out of school and is just a genius and starts a company and stuff. But generally, the average person that's very successful in the United States, at least, is educated. And you can't just go to high school and then become an engineer. Like, it's no matter how smart you are, or no matter how good you are at math, like, you have to have that to kind of back it up. And that's the why certain groups in the United States are very, very successful. So knowing that's all falling apart, we were kind of thinking, well, what does he do? Does he go to Europe to try to go to college like Oppenheimer did? Does he stay here and get a master's and then hope that things get better? But the problem is, our president is going to be here for another 3 years, and then who knows who's going to replace him? I
think the big problem is unpredictability, isn't it? And that's why trade is struggling.
Yes.
Because even if you radically shift the policy, as long as the policy stays the same, people are in with a chance. The problem with Trump is someone says something to him and he completely changes the federal government's policy.
It is. It's really scary. And then, so let's say we luck out and we don't get another MAGA lunatic in after Trump leaves, and we get somebody more reasonable. It's still going to take a few years for everything to get back to normal academic-wise, because you've got to have the funding go through Congress. You've got to have colleges start hiring again and start replacing their programs, and it's just going to take a long time. But so my son kind of dropped on me and this is what we're talking about offline without really talking to me, because that's what young people do sometimes. That he has joined the Peace Corps, and he is going off into the wild blue yonder for 27 months, and he is going to see what's going on in the world, and then see what's going on in 3 years, and then decide if he wants to go into academia and things like that. So you and I started talking about, is it a good idea to, in your 20s, to go enjoy life, or is it better to start working hard when you're young and then try to enjoy life when you're later? And I thought we were starting to have a good discussion about that. So I know you and I kind of did things differently. So tell me your thoughts.
Well, the first one is about academia. So I was very fortunate, went to university and I got my degree. So I appreciate that I'm playing tennis without the net, so I can pass comment on how people should do things when they don't have a degree, but I actually have one. So I appreciate that I'm speaking from a very privileged position.
And what's your degree in?
Politics.
Okay.
So you don't. I think they call it political science in the US.
They do,
whenever
yeah.
I have to fill out a form saying what degree I have, it never has politics on the list. But in the UK, it's just called politics. And I actually did it in a town called Newcastle upon Tyne, Newcastle, in the northeast of England. And just as a random aside, if you ever get the chance to go to Newcastle, it is a riot. It's said to be the best night out in Europe. Pretty small town. Not a small town, small city. But there are probably a dozen huge clubs, and it's kind of a destination night out. And it is wild.
You've told me that.
It's such a bloody wild place. So just a quick aside, Newcastle, if you had never seen behaviour and debauchery like Newcastle.
Is that the
Saturday
place you
night.
told me that women pee standing up in the bathrooms?
Yeah, on several occasions had a woman just come into the men's bathroom because they didn't want to queue and just like pull her mini skirt up. A lot of them heavily overweight. little mini skirt, just pull it up and then get one finger and pull their thong out the way and just pee in the urinal.
Oh my god!
But like all the guys are big and they're obsessed with what they call it football, soccer. Newcastle United is this, their team, and there's nothing near Newcastle, so there's no kind of there's nowhere else to go. It's just this cold town in the northeast of England with nothing anywhere near it, and a football team and really rowdy people and a load of bars and clubs. And it's just a really cool place, but it's cold and there's no way I could have lived there long term. But if you just want to experience a wild night out, just go to central Newcastle on a Saturday night, and that's it. I don't have a bar to recommend. Just go. That was an aside. Yeah, my thoughts on. So I had an interesting case sample. What's it called? Sample study. It's early in the morning here. When I was at university, I played rugby for the engineering faculty, and so I was there was no politics rugby team. I don't think enough people that did politics wanted to play rugby, but I didn't. You could play for whoever you wanted. I ended up playing for the engineers, and so everyone on my team was doing an engineering degree. And one thing I kind of realised about academia is if you do a degree like engineering or medicine, you're kind of railroaded into that career. And you make the decision about what to study at university when you're, 17, 18? And then once you graduate, if you've got an engineering degree or a medical degree, you don't have to, but you might as well do that thing.
Yeah, it's hard to pivot.
Yeah, it's a real waste of money if you do a 7-year medical degree or a 4-year engineering degree and then do something else. So at the age of 17, you chose a degree. You went and got that degree. When you leave university, you're only really qualified to do that one thing, so you start doing it. And everyone that I played rugby with who studied engineering then became an engineer and had a good career and stuff. But effectively, they decided their career at the age of 17. And you're not committed to it, but you're kind of committed to it because let's say you're 22, 23, you start earning good money. By the time you're 30, you're on meaningfully good money. You've got a house, kids, mortgage. You can't just pivot and find a new career. You're kind of stuck with that career. So although it's lucrative and hopefully a lot of people enjoy it, the thing I noticed is at 17 you choose to do a degree and then it kind of commits you to what you're going to do for the rest of your life. So which works for a lot of people, but a few people I know said, well, man, I don't really like engineering, but I'm 20 years in now and I make $200,000 a year. I can't go and do something else. So that's my only thing with university and academia is it kind of puts you on a path, and if the path works out, it's great, but if you feel like it's not working out for you, you're probably stuck on it, and you made that decision so early in your life when you were a teenager. So that's my only thing about getting degrees is that it can in some cases railroad people into a career. And as I say, it works out for a lot of people, but it makes it very hard to then go and do something else. And I've lived a slightly bohemian life. I was an airport transfer driver for 2 years. I delivered linen for a company. I was a delivery driver for a year. I've worked on live TV. I've been a mountain guide. I've done lots of different stuff. And had I done a medical degree, say, I very much doubt any of that would have happened. I would have a ton more money, though. My God, I'd have a lot more money.
I think it's kind of it's what you value. It's what you value.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
If you go do a medical degree, engineering degree, you can have a solid career and make lots of money.
Yeah.
But it's very unlikely you're going to just spend your 20s being carefree and experiencing the world.
Yeah, and I think for me, I saw both my parents, and my mom was a teacher, and she basically went to college and became a teacher and invested very well, saved very well, retired very young, and is still very financially well off. My dad, who also went to college, he was always like chasing some dream, and he was like investing in this, or he was starting up this, or he's doing this. And when he died, all he really left us was like a ton of credit card bills and broken things. And I saw that, and I even saw that growing up, where my mom just seemed to consistently go to work and seem not okay. My dad just seemed so unbelievably stressed out all the time. And there's times when he was doing really well and he'd have money and everything was good. And then there's times when he would like be just like frantic, like he couldn't pay his bills, like, and it kind of made me think, you know what? I don't really care about being wealthy. What I want is stability that like my mom has, with more of an adventurous lifestyle than my mom has, because she like barely wants to leave her house, but that's just her. And I don't know, I'm not saying that's the right thing to do. It's just, it's kind of where I am now. But then there's some risk. Like, you know, you enjoyed your 20s probably more than I did. And if I had a terrible illness and was really sick right now, or invalid, or had died young or something, then my decision would have been really terrible, because I would have never enjoyed my life. I would have got out of college, got a job, and just worked until I died young. And so it's just, I don't know that there's a really right or wrong way to do it. It's just like we were talking about offline, you kind of make a choice sometimes whether you enjoy your youth or you enjoy your older age, unless you can just luck out and something happens so you can enjoy both. But the average person doesn't always have that opportunity, if that makes sense.
I agree. And I don't know if you've ever seen the why you shouldn't judge people diagram. A guy walks up to a whiteboard and he draws this huge circle. And he says, this is someone's life. And then he pricks the pen on the board and he says, and that's what you know about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't judge anyone's choices. I don't think my choices were better than anyone else's.
Yeah.
I certainly don't when I look at my savings account. Life's, it's not hard. I'm reading a book about the history of the world and you realize how good we've got it right now. But by modern first world standards, life's hard. You don't get to have it all. You don't get to just blow your 20s having a good time and then retire early with loads of money. And I mean, Instagram, YouTube is full of people saying, well, if you just buy Bitcoin or post 20 times a day to social media or whatever the latest Ponzi scheme crap is. The reality is, for most people, at some stage in your life, you're going to have to work and get some money behind you.
It's
Figuring out how and when to do that while still living the lifestyle you want is really tough. And as I say, I don't think I did it better than you. Certainly, you're going to have a hell of a lot more freedom a lot earlier in your life than I am. I'm kind of on the treadmill. I got on the treadmill so late that it's going to be a while till I can think about retiring. And so it's just, yeah, it's different, and it's difficult. It's really difficult, and you don't get it all. And I think Greg Heil, who you might remember we had on talking about van life, came out with something brilliant when he said, when you live in a van, you can be anywhere, but you can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
You still get FOMO, and I think that's true of life generally. You can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Well, and I've always said that when it comes to like buying things or experiences, like I can do anything or buy anything I want, but I can't do everything or buy everything I want. I want to go buy a Ferrari, I can go buy a Ferrari, but then I can't do anything else.
Yeah.
If I want to buy some massive house, I can buy some massive house. Maybe I can't furnish it, but I have a massive house. I want to go do some unbelievably lavish trip. I can do that, but then I can't maybe buy something else or spend some money on something else. So it's all a balance, and that's one of the things I've actually learned from our friendship is the consistency thing. And I will say to you, because your kids are smaller than mine, or people that are listening, one thing that I feel like, and I was talking to someone about this yesterday, that really pushes you out of life for about 20 years is having kids.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I look back and I'm like, why wasn't I ever in a band? I really like music. Oh, because I had kids young. Oh, why didn't I ever write a novel when I was young? Oh, because I had kids young, and I was constantly doing kid stuff. So a lot of these, and I don't regret that, but it's like the kind of you can't really judge people, because sometimes you meet people and they've done all this crazy stuff, and it's like, yeah, because you never had a family. That's why you had the ability to do that. People with families don't always have the ability and the time to do all this stuff and learn a million languages and do all this stuff, because you're so focused on your children.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess I'm quite private as well, but I would say that having kids, people always say it's the best thing you ever do, and I was always raised an eyebrow when I was out skiing every day and having a good time. But
yeah.
It for sure is. And so for me to lead a full... to have a full emotional life and to have experienced all life's emotional riches, I really feel like having a family has been a big thing for me. So it's just, like you say, it's figuring out where do you fit in that 20 years where you've got to get serious and where you've got to be consistent and you can't be disappearing off on trips all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's tricky, because if a friend of mine had his first kid at 18 and just thought, oh man, I got to get serious. And so he started a business here where I live in BC. He's done great. I mean, he's not uber wealthy, but he's certainly very financially comfortable. 49, 3 grandkids at 49.
Wow.
Yeah, no, they all have kids early in that family. And he's basically, he's probably going to work a couple more years and retire and have plenty of cash. And he's still kind of vibrant enough that he'll enjoy it. So if I had a kid at 18, I don't know what the hell I would have done, but he made it work, and he's going to reap the rewards. And we probably did things a bit differently, where we didn't really get serious until we were 30. Yeah. 5 years later, start having a family, and now we've got to figure it out.
Now, I do want to be judgmental for a minute. Not on you. But
I mean, normally we save the harsh judgment for when the microphones are on.
But I do think when you make life decisions, and especially if someone's listening to this, they're probably interested in travel and an adventure life, and they could be at any point in their life. If you really like that lifestyle, what I think is such a destroyer of your life and unfair to everybody around those is if you start a family, especially as a man, when you're very, very old. And you're in your 60s, 50s, 60s, you get a young wife, you start having kids. Your life is basically done at that point, because by the time they get out of school, you're gonna be 80 years old, and then you're too old to go do stuff with them. You're too old to hike with them. You're exhausted all the time. I had my kids my first one at 25. I just turned 50. I can't imagine if I had to get up now in the middle of the night and feed some kid or do that stuff. I just cannot even imagine what that's like. and it's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to your spouse when you die, and and she's still pretty young with teenagers, and it's just that's the one thing I think is ridiculous. It's either do it at a normal time or don't do it at all, and that's my judgment.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's it is a matter of timing. I agree though. We've got some friends who went again recently. They had 2 kids and went again, and they've got a baby. And every time we go around, I see the baby, and it's great because you get to kind of play with him, and he's making all the gurgling baby noises, and it's super cute. But then you hear like, and you think, I don't want to change a diaper.
You know what's better than that?
That's your problem. What's that?
A baby grandchild that you can play with and give back.
That's the sweet spot, hey, grandkids. I bet that's that friend of mine who I just mentioned then, who's got 3 grandkids. He said, "Man, it is awesome.
Yeah,
we take them for the day. I change some diapers. They scream and have tantrums and stuff, and then it gets to 5 p.m. My daughter comes back and I go, there you go."
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the way to do it, and it's I just like having such an adventurous life, and I know you do, and I think people listening to this, and I just don't want to set myself up where I can't have that, because I look back at those 20 years with my kids, and I have tons of fond memories. But I majored in English literature in college, and I went in years where I just did not really read a lot, and it wasn't because I didn't want to. It was just it's so exhausting working full time and having little kids. And at night, I'm not going to sit and be like, I'm going to read The Three Musketeers before bed. I'm like, I just want to watch some brainless show for a few minutes and go to bed because I'm exhausted, and it really does kind of push you back.
Yeah, it does. And I actually, if I was going to make a little judgment of my own, I think the one thing I always struggle with when I see it is people that try and continue to have their adventures with their kids.
Yes.
So you'll see on Instagram, we sold our house and bought a yacht, and now we're sailing around the world and homeschooling the kids, and they've all these pictures of the kids in nice places, and I think that's great. But I can tell you from experience what kids want. Kids want the same.
You're a shitty parent. I'm going to be honest. You're a shitty parent if you do that stuff. I knew somebody, and they were going to have kids, and they were a little bit older, and they told me that, like, we're not giving up our lifestyle, so we're just going to keep traveling around all the time, and we live here for 6 months, and we live there for 6 months, and they never were consistent. And I told them, and they got like really mad at me, and I said, you cannot do that with kids. Kids want a home base. They do not want to be in France for 6 months and then go to the United States for 6 months and switch back constantly. And you can't even do that. School systems don't work that way. They're going to be so far out of how things work. They're going to be held back. They're going to be so screwed up. They're not going to have friends. Like, don't be a selfish jerk when you have kids. You want to be a selfish jerk, be a selfish jerk alone.
I think a lot of people, I see people that sell everything and go and live on a yacht, and I think they do it with the best of intentions, but the reality is maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know what their intentions are, but
selfishness.
Your kids want friends, and they want I was about to say then, the biggest thing kids want is stability and consistency.
Yes. It's
crazy. You'll remember this when you have kids. You say to your kids, where do you want to go today? And they say the same place that you've been 1,000 times. And you go, do you want to try this? And you're listing all this new stuff. They do not want to hear it. They want to go when it snows, they want to sled on the same hill. They always go sledding. Yep. When you go for an ice cream, they want to go to the same ice cream parlor they go to every time. Kids want consistency.
They want to watch the same Disney movie every single day for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. We put it, we have it here. What do you want to watch? Hook. Really? Really? There are so many movies now we want to watch Hook. And where do you want to go for an ice cream? Where do you want to go play? Where do you want to go? And kids want the same thing. And even when they get to teenagers and they're trying to rebel, friends of mine who've got teenagers say they're trying to rebel, but what they really want is like a firm line. Everything in their life is uncertain. They don't understand their own body. They don't understand girls. They don't understand socializing. They might be struggling academically. That what they really want from you is just consistency. Same house.
Yes.
Same stuff. It's just they need something that's an anchor. And I can't help thinking that if you try and have a super adventurous life with your kids, you're kind of taking the anchor away. And we try and find the balance.
Yeah.
We do pretty adventurous trips.
Yeah, we do too.
We got 6 and 7-year-olds.
Yeah.
We do multi-day canoe trips.
Yeah.
And everything we need goes in the canoe, and we're out in the wilderness, and there are bears, and we've got to make a fire, and it's hard, but we come home, and on a Monday they go back to the same school.
And you have to remember that that stuff's more of that stuff's for you. Not what you're doing now because they're getting a little bit older. But when you take toddlers or little kids on trips, they're not going to remember it. I have kids. I took my kids on trips when they were like 5 years old, and I'm like, do you remember when? And they have no clue what I'm even talking about. Not a single memory of it. And I'm like, well, that was money really well spent. And these people that are jet setting all over the world with toddlers and babies, besides the fact that they're annoying everybody around them with their little kids on the plane and at hotels and everywhere, is their kids aren't even going to remember it. It's not like and the people say, well, they'll pick stuff up through osmosis. And no, they won't. They just
they won't.
If anything, they pick up anxiety.
Yeah, I agree with that. And an amazing book I've referenced on this podcast before, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, who, again, I tried to get on the podcast, but he's otherwise engaged.
He's too busy sleeping.
Yeah, exactly. I think you cracked that joke last time.
It's a good joke.
It's a good joke, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, dad jokes are always worthy of multiple areas. Yeah, but the research into baby and toddler sleep is quite incredible. So if you're moving your kids around and affecting their sleep pattern, it's pretty remarkable what it does to their mental and physical health long term. So again, I think much as it might not suit your lifestyle, just giving them that solid routine and in every respect, social, sleep, food, I think is actually setting them up best. Because it's I totally get what they mean about osmosis. I don't think it's true, but you know what, we made a list recently. When the kids are old enough that they can understand and remember stuff, where are we going to go?
That's good.
What are going to be the big trips?
Yeah.
But we're not going to do it now.
Yeah, that's super smart, because it goes by once the time from when your kid gets to where they can actually walk around and not whine and remember where they are to when they're gone and like off into college. It's actually a pretty small window, and I look back and I just felt like it was going to last forever, but it doesn't. And we tried to go, like we did a Japan trip, we did a Romania trip, we tried to take them to different places in the world, but it's like you ran out of time, and then COVID hit, which screwed it up. But I would have loved to take them on a safari, which we never got to do. I would have loved to take them to like Greece or Rome, which never got to do. Somewhere in Africa would have been really cool. Like just, but I think you try to get them to Asia, you try to get them to Europe, you try to maybe get them to Central or South America, and you just can't get them everywhere. But it's super interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it's interesting.
I think that's smart. I think you're really smart to do that. And what I would recommend while we're chatting is when you make that list, take into account how expensive the place is. I learned a lesson with my kids when I took them to a trip to Scandinavia. And then when I was there, everything was so ungodly expensive. Yeah. I didn't really enjoy it because it's like we went on ice cream. It's like, okay, it's like $50 for me to buy my kids ice cream. And
it's not fun because you're just wincing all day.
You're just wincing all day. And then I learned that lesson. It's like, I'm never doing that again. And then we went to Romania, and it's like, you want 10 ice cream cones a day? They're $1 each. Knock yourself out. You want to, whatever you want to do, we'll do it. Knock yourself out. But I really learned that lesson.
I did not particularly enjoy Romania, just as an aside. I mean, I'm glad I've been, but I didn't really like it.
I liked
one of the
it.
few places. It was kind of lukewarm. I didn't like the vibe. But just quickly on that one, what is super interesting with traveling and kids is that you can kind of mold them, and it sounds really bad to say that, but when we go, if we leave on a Friday night and we say, right, we're going to take everything we need in the canoe, we're going to paddle to this lake and that lake, and we're going to camp in the woods, and we're going to have a bear spray. I'm as sure as I can be that it's genuine. They are so excited. They cannot get out there fast enough. They're helping pack the car. When we go out, they've got little walkie-talkies. So we sit back at base or whatever. Maybe it's a little sketchy because we're in bear country. We just tell them to make lots of noise. But they disappear off with their walkie-talkies. They don't go more than, I don't know, 100 yards away, but into the woods, and they're foraging for wood. And then when you try and get them to bed, they go, oh, we don't want to go to bed. We want to watch the sunset. And in the morning, they want to paddle and they want to load the... I do think we've... But I do worry that we've just kind of railroaded them into this. But I suppose my approach is, when you're parenting, you're inevitably going to have a bias. I am not going to encourage my kids to get into, I don't know, chess or soccer as much as I'm going to encourage them to get into outdoor sports. I just can't. You can't be that objective. So... Yeah, but I do kind of wonder if we're railroading them. But by the same token, my approach is, look, I've had a lot out of these kind of activities. I'm going to expose you to them. If you decide as a teenager that you want to play soccer instead, or you like chess or whatever it is, then that's fine. But this is what I know, and until you're old enough to figure out what you like, I'm going to show you what I like and hope. And yeah, that's the best I can do. I can't show you. They play softball, they play sports and stuff, but I can't objectively give you pretend I've got equal passion for everything you can do with your life. I'm just going to show you what I like doing, and hopefully you like it too. And if you don't, then I'm really absolutely fine with that. And it's to say, it's a bit like we said, you can do anything, you can't do everything. I think that's true with kids. You just show them what you like, and hopefully they like it too.
Yeah. Who wants to sit and watch some movie every day for years that your little kids like that you hate? It's like you try to steer them towards things that at least are tolerable. My dad...
Wow.
I was going to say, my dad did something really cool when I was growing up. And I was in first grade, and all he did for like months was talk about how great Disneyland was. And my dad grew up for part of his time in California, and he would just talk about all the stuff at Disneyland, how cool it was. And this is, way before the internet and anything. So the only way I could hear about it was stories from him. There wasn't like I could look it up or anything. And then one day he picked me up from school, and he goes, if you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go? And of course I yell out Disneyland, because he'd been talking about it for months. And he goes, well, we're going. And he had already packed my bag, and we went to the airport, and he and I went to Disneyland for the weekend. And
that's pretty cool.
And it was so cool. And I got that, like, I love doing surprises and surprising people with things. And I got that, I think, just from that experience with him. And it was so much more, magical, it's like a term for Disneyland, than if we had planned it and he, and then we just went like a normal trip. That surprise of it was really, really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like you've got to expose your kids to your passions, because you can give them so much more meaning than other activities. But then you've somehow got to find the balance of them finding
depends
their
on
own
your
way as well.
Depends on your passions.
Yeah, I mean, there are some things that are definitely inappropriate for under 18s. But yeah, I like talking about this stuff because I kind of like philosophizing. And once you get to a certain vintage, I turned 41 on Friday.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I was waiting for an Amazon parcel or something from Denver. I'll go and check out. It's Monday now.
I think it's stuck in tariffs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, as we all know, Canada is the route through which most fentanyl and illegal immigrants come.
That's true, yes.
Yeah. But no, what you can start looking back and thinking about your choices in a way that you maybe can't when you're in the thick of it. Certainly in your 20s, you don't really have any idea. It's very hard to conceive your life as a whole when you're in your 20s. But when you get to, say, 40, and you're statistically probably halfway through, you can begin to think about the calls you've made and what your future choices might look like and what effects they might have. But it's interesting to philosophize on when you should be carefree, because at some stage in your life, I really recommend being carefree.
Yeah, and I would just say your brain doesn't stop developing till you're like in your mid-20s. So if you're making these decisions, whether they affect you or your family, or you're thinking, I'm going to have a kid and I'm going to travel around the world with this kid forever, I do think there's something to be said for talking to your elders a little bit, or that people that you trust, and say, hey, what do you think about this? What's a good idea? Because people that have been around have some good advice. I was in Vegas a couple months ago, and I was at a restaurant, and there's an old guy sitting at a table next to me talking to his grandkids, and there's like 10 people at the table, and I was just sitting there eating my dinner, and somebody asked him, like, do you have any advice, or what's your philosophy for like your grandkids, what's the family? And he said, people will more often disappoint you than they'll impress you in your life. And I thought about it for like a long time after that, and I was like, you know what, he's right. And I didn't, when I was young, I didn't realize that. Like, you're so hopeful and you think, oh, the people have my best interests and stuff. But when you're older, you're like, I look back and I'm like, most people have disappointed me more than they've impressed me. And if you kind of have that thought, it reframes maybe how you view some things. And that advice from an elder that stuff's important. And when you're young and you think you know everything, you just have to remind yourself sometimes that other people have been through this stuff too, and we've learned some lessons, and there's things that we would have done differently.
Yeah, and but the obvious caveat is it's hard. It's really hard to make a successful life that has the right balance of family and also personal stuff. Because I go off for a week and I'll do a trip that I want to do.
Yeah, I do too.
The kids stay home with my wife, and
yeah,
that you could call that selfish, and maybe it is, but I genuinely believe you're a better parent and a better person if you feel personally fulfilled. And
yes, I agree. Yeah,
I also, much as I wouldn't choose to have kids and then immediately just go travel the world and do all this stuff and disrupt their childhood. I also don't think you should just say, well, I've got kids now, so all the stuff that makes me happy and fulfills me, I'm going to stop doing.
Exactly. And I'm the same way. I mean, and I'd have to ask my kids when they're older, and maybe I don't want to ask because maybe I don't want to know. Like, do they resent me for doing trips, either alone or with friends when they were little? And the honest answer is I don't know. And part of me, I don't really care because I needed that for my mental health. Because I had a very stressful job and a stressful family. And if I didn't have that time to recharge my batteries and go away, I probably would have been an even bigger jerk than maybe I was in the first place.
Yeah, you've got to find it. You got to find a balance between family and personal, between money and free time, between living where you want to live and living somewhere that's right for your family. As you get older, I think the biggest realization I've had is that everything's a balance.
Yeah.
And that you never find, and it's the same. I think about fitness. I love to train and keep fit, but man, I love going to watch the NFL on a Monday night and having 3 beers. So
yeah.
And having chicken wings. So, yeah, as you get older, you kind of realize that everything is a balance, and you never quite find it, and you're always just trying to tweak it.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest part when you're growing up, I always remember thinking, if I could do X, my life would be complete. And you kind of realize that your life will never be complete, and it's you just always working at it. Which is, yeah, I do still sometimes wish, oh man, if I could just do X. I wonder if I just feel okay.
Yeah.
Well, not feel okay. I feel great. My life's been great. But you know what I mean? Feel satisfied. But I think you just have to accept that actually it's always a balance. You're always kind of seeking a slight improvement here or a tweak there. And it's just, there is no end.
Well, it's just like,
there's no destination.
It's just like anything. You buy a car and that you've been wanting forever, and after a month you're like, okay, it's just my car. You go on some amazing,
and 5 years later it's an outdated your car.
Yes, or you go on some amazing trip and you get back and a month later you're like, God, it seems like that trip was like years ago. So I think you're exactly right. Where people just do the best they can, and we're all trying to balance everything, and life is about balance. And as long as it's not weighted so much on one side, I think you can look back and feel like at least you gave it your best shot.
Yeah, and the other thing is, my advice would be, don't beat yourself up too much. If you made your decision, if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I made that decision for the right reasons, and I genuinely thought it was the right thing to do, and I wasn't secretly being selfish. I really, really looked inside myself and made that call, and it didn't work out. Don't beat yourself up.
Yes, with the information you had at the time.
Yeah.
Because not something later that you had no idea about.
I don't know about you, as you age, you meet a lot of hindsight warriors. That they are the experts in what they could, should, would have done. And you think, well, but God, if I had hindsight, I'd just do last week's lottery
I
and just win, and I'd be good. It's so easy with hindsight.
I think you and I tend to focus on the future more than we focus on the past, and I probably focus too much on the future and not enough on the present, to be honest, if I had one criticism of myself.
Yeah, being present is a very hard thing to do.
It is.
And you can often only get it for fleeting seconds. I interviewed a skier one time, and champion freeride skier, and she was fantastic. She said it's so hard to be present. You know, she said when I'm in the start gate, you've kind of fight it. She was coming up with tools to make herself present.
Yeah.
Standing in the start gate of a World Cup, which is crazy, really. But she said when you're truly present, she said, if I'm halfway through a turn, I can't remember the last one, and I can't imagine the next one.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's powerful stuff. But no, it's really hard to be present. So you've got to try and enjoy the journey as well. But I'm the same. But that's why I quite like doing this podcast, because sometimes it makes me think about things I haven't thought about for years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm very smart, and I get you thinking. So I've got one last piece of advice, and that is the second you realize that you don't want to have any more kids, get a vasectomy.
That is exceptional advice.
Yep.
Which both you and I followed.
Yep. You don't want
to a
You don't want an oopsie baby. God knows where in the world, because you didn't plan. Like, just be smart.
Yeah. And I always just think, who knows who knows what your future holds? But I know
it's not going to be more kids.
Doesn't have any more kids. No. Yeah, because the other thing is you do make your plans based on the length of time which you expect your kids to be home. So if you've got an 8-year-old and you're making your plans, okay, she's going to leave home in 10 years, and so when she leaves home, I'm going to have a bit more freedom, and I want to have this with my finances, and I want my work to be here, and I want my relationship to be here, and I want to live in this house because we're going to downsize. Yeah. If you have a whoopsie.
Yeah. Or your kid's younger than your grandkid. because you didn't plan your vasectomy. Just don't do that.
Yeah, well, I think that's exceptional advice. Yeah, just decide how many you want, and we all know, we all know where kids come from. You're playing an adult game, and it's got adult consequences. And if you want to play the game, that's fine. But just when people say they had a whoopsie, I always just think, well,
try to play the game without a loaded gun.
Yeah, just we all know where they come from. So if you're playing the game, just eliminate one of the elements. Come on, I'm not. People do have genuine whoopsies, but I'm sometimes a little bit skeptical that it was a whoopsie. I mean, you just think, well, come on, we know where they come from. If you're playing with all the cards, then that's what might happen.
Not like, wow, how'd that happen?
Yeah, how did that? That's weird. Yeah. God, we haven't slept together for 6 months.
Then I think you need to get DNA testing if that's really the case. I really don't know how this happened. Either you're the Virgin Mary, who I feel like her husband was kind of gullible.
I feel like the whole family's pretty gullible.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, how'd you get pregnant, Mary? God. Oh, okay. So it wasn't that guy you're always hanging out with? No. That's not the dude. It was God.
Yeah, every time I think about that story, I feel like she got off pretty lightly.
Yeah. I think that. He was kind of a dumbass. I feel like.
Yeah, Christopher Hitchens had the best question about that though. He said, which is more likely, that the entire natural order is suspended in a way that supports your story, or that a minx told a lie?
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, well, I think that's an exceptional piece of advice on which to end an otherwise quite philosophical podcast. That's just firm advice. You've had your kids, go see the doctor. It might cost you $300. I don't know what this cost.
It was $25 when I did it, but that was a while ago.
$25?
Yeah.
Ooh, mine was €700.
Was it really?
In Austria, yeah, because Austria is very Catholic, so they're not really. The state has exceptional healthcare, but they're not into preventing kids being born.
I just gave some guy in an alleyway $25, and he was like,
"Did he just remove the lock? Like a bull?"
Yeah, he took those and one of my kidneys. So
For an extra $1,000, you get your appendix removed as a bonus surgery. Yeah. Wow, that was fun, like always.
It was fun.
But
So
I'm glad we didn't just talk about some place.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
But I would like to talk. I went to West Virginia recently for a week, and I thought it was way more fascinating than I thought. So we'll have to do that pretty soon.
Yeah, that'd be good, because I know nothing about West Virginia apart from the song, which everyone will now have in their head for the rest of the day.
Yes.
But no, that was really good. My big challenge now is what do I title this? I got to put a title on
Philosophical
podcast.
ramblings of two geniuses.
Just listen to two great minds discuss the world.
Yes.
Something like that. All right. Well, by the time people listen to this, they will know what I came up with. Maybe ChatGPT is going to have to come up with it. We'll see. But I'll come up with something. But that was fun. And next time we'll speak about a place.
Sounds good. We'll talk soon.